Alright, by now I'm 100% sure that you have already experienced the full spectrum of characters when you've been prospecting on social media, whether that's for yourself, for your own appointment setting services, or if you're working for your client already and you're prospecting for himself. I mean, it's logical. People are different. Some people can't be bothered to talk to, some will be easy to talk to, but I can assure you that some will be a complete nightmare to talk with, and it feels like you have to literally force some infos out of them. Those people that are a nightmare to talk with are called blunt prospects. They are called blunt prospects, and that's exactly what I'm gonna talk about in today's video. In this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how to handle those guys and how to break their defenses so they open up to you, so you can book them onto a call and potentially get that deal, potentially get that commission from them. Obviously, as an appointment setters, it's important that we are able to handle all different types of people that we will encounter. So normally, the people that are blunt or direct, in other words, are those people, as I mentioned before. Some of their characteristics would be that they have a high action threshold. They have a high action threshold, which means, of course, that they don't want to buy anything from anyone. They only buy things from people that they absolutely trust. So what we need to do with those people is literally find a way to lower that threshold of theirs. Find a way to lower their threshold and basically find a way to make them trust us. That's what we need to do with those high action threshold people. That's our number one mission with them. That's what we must do if we want to proceed further with either booking them onto a call or landing them as our first client, whatever. You see my point. That's our main goal when we encounter those types of prospects. Next thing I want to say is that you should be prepared for some people that are gonna even be rude to you. But trust me, that's just part of the game. I've had multiple occasions when they literally either offended me or they just blocked me, left me unseen. But like I said, that's just part of the game that you need to go through if you want to be successful at some point. You simply cannot get emotionally triggered by any of those, and let alone get into an argument with them, being all offended and trying to convince them to do something. That's never a play for you. Especially if you are working as an inbound or outbound setter from your client's profile, they will think that the prospects will think that they're talking with an actual business owner and not his appointment setter. So you have to represent his values the best you can. You must stay cool, you must keep that positive attitude and still keep pushing for that sales call. Remember, boys, their attitude doesn't have to do anything with you at all. It's just about the product or service you're offering, and the fact that they might not be interested yet. That's just the thing, not about you personally. And when I say they might not be interested yet, key word here is yet, because you need, as an appointment setter, you need to make them realize that they need that product or service if they want to move their life to the next level, whether that's money-wise or whatever. You see my point. And one way to handle those blunt prospects is to use something called active listening. It's something called active listening. So what active listening means is basically you carefully listening to what the person is saying while also responding in a way that addresses their concerns, I would say. If they say, actually, let me give you one great example right here of how to be a good active listener. If they say that they're not interested, maybe let's put it that that's our main objection right now, they're not interested. For example, you can literally just say something along the lines of completely understandable, bro. Of course, you need to acknowledge their answer and show some empathy. Completely understandable, bro, especially since I haven't even told you anything about your offer, which would be XYZ, whatever you're offering. Then Another part of the message would be just, may I just ask you, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? May I just ask you, why do you feel that way? Something like that. That's also a way for you to handle an objection of them not being interested, because with these blunt prospects, you will face much more objections than you would face with someone else. So main takeaway here is show empathy, show that you're genuinely interested to hear more about their situation and goals, and overall just show that you are not just another salesman in their DMs. You're not here to take their money and go ghost, but you're genuinely here to help them solve their problems. And even if they're not saying much yet, I mean, the point of this video is that they're being blunt. So if they're not saying much, use anything you can and show that you really care. And if they're still being blunt, it's time to use empathy, boys. Like I said, empathy is something you can use in a way like, okay, look, I know I'm just another stranger in your DMs. I don't know you, you don't know me, but I'm here to help. I'm here to help you solve those problems of yours, to bring more results for you in the future. Along those lines, you feel me? That's how you show empathy. And also to get the replies from them, that you can later use those replies to continue that conversation along the way further down your process, you must be asking right targeted questions. I think I've already covered that in one of the videos, but that's a very important part, because there's no other way for you to find out more about someone other than by asking right targeted questions. That's the only way. That's the only way for you to potentially find a pain point that you can later leverage and help them solve. So those are questions that will basically force them to give you some sort of an answer. For example, imagine this scenario. You want to find their pain point, but they are not giving you anything. They are not opening up to you yet. So what you could do in that situation is kind of just put yourself in their shoes and say something along the lines of you actually being experienced in that exact field. For example, that's what I use. I just recently worked with one company. You can say, actually, it's a similar company to yours. Actually, it's a similar company to yours, and they were struggling with the same thing, or maybe let's put it like an example. They were struggling to book more than 5 sales calls per week. This is just an exact example because you're obviously working as an appointment setter, and let's say you are trying to find your first client at the moment. Then this is the first part of the message. Okay, and of course you finish with the question. Question, for instance, would that be something that you're also struggling with? And that's a question you can ask. That's what you can say, and even if they're still being blunt, they are either gonna give you an answer, and that's either yes or no. And that can also help you sort of find the pain point and show that you care, even if they're not giving you much info. And now, finally, when I covered all of this, one more thing, one very, very important thing that I want to say, and I'm repeating, it's very, very important part of your appointment setting qualities would be to be persistent. To be persistent, because persistency is what you will need in these scenarios when you're talking with some of these blunt prospects. It's important to be persistent and not give up after first rejection. Why? Because objections are here to be handled, boys. I mean, obviously, if they are being blunt and after you ask them several questions like are they interested and all of that, they can just straight say no and that's it. But that's not an objection per se, if you know what I mean. However, you still have to handle it as if it was a real objection. And you gotta keep pushing until literally there is nothing left in there. Main point, the key here in this video is that you need to tick some of the boxes when it comes to your quality as an appointment setter. So what you need to do is don't sound too salesy. Then try to establish trust. Try to establish trust from the very beginning. Then, like I said already, show empathy. Then show that you genuinely care. That you genuinely care about them, their situation, their struggles, their desired outcome, whatever. There are tons of these different things that I could write down right now. But yes, you see my point. I always talk about it. And anyways, ask those questions sort of in a way to find the pain point, even if they're not giving you any by themselves. I know it might be too broad, but if you're gonna ask a yes or no question, make sure to ask a yes or no question that is actually going to help you identify their pain point and bring you one step closer to your final goal. It can be, that final goal can be either closing the deal through the DMs, booking them onto a call, whatever. And please, now, I beg you, don't ask open-ended questions like, I don't know, maybe, how's your biz going? How's your business going? Or, is your business going well? Those kinds of questions. Please avoid these questions by any means, because those questions are literally getting you nowhere. None of this bullshit, please. This is a red flag. This is a big red flag, because you are wasting your time, and instead of asking these questions, you could literally ask something more efficient, something more helpful, and instead, let's say it can be, are you getting many sales calls? That's a question you can ask instead of these open-ended questions. So this is a good example for you. This is a good example for you. And the reason behind that is that that's something that could be a pain point, potentially, maybe. Let's say you're still searching for your first client. You can use that question, and if the prospect doesn't get many sales calls at the moment, that's the gap that you could fill with your commission-based appointment setting services. Also, on the other hand, if you're working for someone already, and let's say your client helps people scale from point A to point B, from maybe 5K a month to 20K a month, and you're doing an outreach, you're speaking with the lead that you want to book on a call, you could ask that lead this question as well. Are you getting many sales calls? You can ask him that. Simply because if he's not getting many sales calls at the moment, he's not able to scale, and that's his pain point that your client, which helps people scale from point A to point B, could help him with. And then just build trust, make him realize that you guys are the guys that he trusts the most with his business, and just book him onto a call. That's a 3-step process for these guys. After all, everything comes down to you and your skill set. You have to ask it genuinely, and of course at the right time in the conversation, in order to get the most out of it. That's everything I wanted to cover in this video, boys. I hope you found it helpful. I think this is one of those things that you must improve if you want to be top 1%. Handling blunt prospects. Very, very important thing when it comes to appointment setting. One very key factor if you want to scale your income and appointment setting skills to the next level. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video, and as always, keep grinding, boys.